let's start with you. deltatre provides some of the rich digital experience of the game. So, how was it for you guys?
Sure. Thanks, Kevin. I had a few slides if they come up. Should we give it a shot on that?
Quelle surprise, as they say around here.
Quelle surprise. If they come up. There we go. First of all, thank you everybody Kevin for having me here. I mean, inspire a generation, connect to a generation. You know, never miss a moment. There's some great things I've just said there. I do want to add that connect to a generation, in fact, to multiple generations. The Olympic challenges which were out there, which our great clients had, were, I think, quote you, Kevin, bloody hard. It's your quote. Okay. So briefly, really quickly, in about 5-6 minutes, what were they? What do we have? The Olympic Games, infrequent, every 2 or every 4 years, depending which way you count. Very, very short, obviously, incredibly complex, trying to throw together 26 World Championships in 17 days. The impossibility to test those is a big thing, but they're also very diverse. Craig, you said you had 150 countries, fantastic this time, 200 for the Olympic Games. And we counted 7,462 unique events, the 100-meter heat being a unique event, for example. So imagine taking this all on solo. This graph here, I took it last week, it shows the digital reach for NBC Olympics and London 2012. And as you can see, .com, as you can see, it goes from nothing to something overnight. And it is, again, your lovely expression, Kevin, bloody hard. And on top of that, trying to handle the pan-platform coverage, which is now necessary. The digital challenges which we encountered in supporting our good clients, geography, we were dealing with 5 continents, 89 territories, thousands of hours of content that translates to 200 hours a day. Clients who wanted, and really consumers who wanted to have everything everywhere without digital buffering at all on every single platform they wanted, which translates to this pan-platform problem. Our clients asking for content delivered to iOS, Android, tablets, Flash, to YouTube across that's all of the 64 territories we worked with you and YouTube. Xboxes, all sorts of things. It was a big challenge, and you can't test 26 World Championships overnight, unfortunately, not all together. And finally, data points. We dealt with, I looked at it partway through, about 12 million data points we had to deal with, and bring them all together and present them in a way which worked socially, with video, with results for consumers. I should say the last thing on that is, speaking of consumers, we were estimating that one way or another, about 1 billion consumers, probably duplicated, would somehow connect to the Olympic Games with some kind of digital device. This is just our brief footprint. So our knowledge comes from working in these territories. It's 4 of the big 5 in Europe, every country in the Americas, and Europe, and Africa and Asia, in what I'll call the covering of the digital whole, the broadcast whole, where there is, in some cases, not full broadcast coverage. The big question is, to wrap this up, did it work? I've sort of consolidated a number of key items that I thought were important. If you count duplicated consumers, it's easily more than 1 billion. Now, somebody might use a tablet and iPad and watch TV and use a mobile phone, but if you add everything up, you're well over 1 billion, including China's 450 million. That is global, not just what we were involved in. Mobile, consumers were using, what we saw across those territories I showed you, consumers were consuming on mobile way over their weight when it came to comparing that to PC. And tablet was even more, far more. So a tablet consumer would consume, just looking at the US, where tablets are about half the penetration of mobile phones, they're consuming about twice as many video minutes. So way, way over consuming. Engaging, people spend a lot of time. YouTube will spend a few minutes, 4 or 5 minutes watching video. In France, just in France, consumers watching just on PC would spend about an hour. Big numbers, okay? Which translates to more engagement. The interesting thing with BBC, Dave, Barbara Slater, your colleague, put up some numbers, and I can BBC a month ago. She said that on BBC Sport, before the games, there are about 5 million users a day. During the games, about 10 million users a day. And it dropped down, not back to 5, but back to 8. In other words, there was a retention which was gained. And that was a really, really nice bump, which came from BBC's work there. NBC, which does a phenomenal amount of analysis, puts some really, really interesting things together. And Phil and I were on a platform about 6, 7 years ago here, and it was called Internet and Television, Competitive or Complementary. And what these numbers are going to show in a second are very, very much complementary. NBC's numbers, 4 hours and 19 minutes watching TV per user per day. Add the PC, fewer users, 5 hours and 18, added about an hour. Add mobile phones, added an hour and a half, so 6 hours 50. Add tablet computers, so 4 devices. I don't know where these people are finding their time, but another hour and 40 minutes, so 8.5 hours connecting some way to digital devices, which does translate to somebody who pays $1 billion for summer games, to a fascinating amount of more interest, more engagement, and record numbers in their case of ads, $60-something million worth of digital revenue alone. So it did really work in our platform 6, 7 years ago. We knew it at the time. So I think the cat is out of the bag. Finally, for all kinds of sports, you will see that this cat is not going back in the bag. Thanks.
Okay, so the podium door for the cheesiest picture in a presentation goes to the cat coming out of the bag. Connectivity, engagement, those are words that we've been having. It does seem bizarre that we were having that conversation